Mirage in the timeless desert. Endless golden sands stretched in every direction, undulating waves, beneath the relentless sun. The desert was where time seemed to stop, and all that existed was the vast expanse of sand, punctuated only by the occasional cactus or lone animal track. In the heart of this seemingly infinite wasteland, a figure trudged along, feet sinking slightly with every step. The person was wrapped in loose garments, with only their eyes visible, squinting against the burning sunlight. A scarf around their face protected them from the stinging sand whipped up by the winds. Days in the desert were torturous, but nights were even worse, with temperatures plummeting, making the travelers' bones ache with cold. They had been walking for an eternity, searching for something they weren't sure existed. On the third day, when hope was nearly extinguished, the traveler spotted something on the horizon. It was a shimmering city with tall, gleaming towers and flowing water. Their heart raced as they quickened their pace, hoping to find refuge in this oasis. But as they drew closer, the vision started to distort. The clear waters turned to swirling sand, and the tall buildings became dunes. It was a mirage, a cruel trick of the desert. Defeated, the travelers sank to their knees. Tears threatened to fall, but the desert had already absorbed their moisture. A soft sound reached their ears just as they were about to surrender to despair. It was the melodious sound of a flute, distant yet clear. Looking around, they spotted a figure sitting atop a dune, the setting sun casting a long shadow behind them. As the traveler approached, they saw it was an old man with weathered skin, playing a beautiful tune on his flute. The old man stopped playing and looked at the traveler with kind eyes. "I saw you chasing the mirage," he said gently. "Its allure has deceived many. But why? Why does such a thing exist?" the traveler asked, frustration evident in their voice. The old man smiled. "The desert, with all its harshness, also teaches us. The mirage symbolizes our desires, always seeming within reach, but disappearing when we get close. It reminds us that not everything we see or desire is real or attainable." The traveler pondered on this, realizing the truth in the old man's words. They had been so focused on the mirage that they hadn't noticed the real beauty and lessons the desert offered. The old man offered the traveler water from a flask, and they gratefully accepted. "Remember," the old man said, "the desert is not just a place of challenges. It's also a place of discovery, introspection, and understanding." Feeling physically and mentally rejuvenated, the traveler thanked the old man and continued their journey. They no longer chased mirages, but instead appreciated the beauty of the present, understanding that sometimes the journey itself was more important than the destination. And so, with every step they took, the sands of the timeless desert whispered stories of old, of travelers who had come before, and of the mysteries that still lay hidden, waiting to be discovered. Letters from a ghostly gardener. An old, abandoned mansion stood on the outskirts of town, its once magnificent structure now decayed and overgrown with ivy. Local legends spoke of a ghostly gardener who once tended to the mansion's vast gardens, which were now wild and untamed. One day, a young woman named Clara, driven by curiosity and her love for botanicals, decided to explore the mansion's grounds. While admiring an ancient rose bush, she discovered a sealed envelope buried in the soil beneath it. Dusting it off, she opened it to find a beautifully handwritten letter. "Dear visitor, if you're reading this, it means you've found my beloved garden. It has been many years since I last set foot here. My name is Edmund, and I was once the gardener of this estate. Even in the afterlife, my passion for plants hasn't faded. Please, take care of them, for they are a part of my soul. Yours truly, E. Stunned, Clara decided to restore the garden to its former glory. As she started her work, every plant she nurtured would reveal another hidden letter, each one offering guidance, tips, or simply words of encouragement. Dear Clara, the roses by the fountain thrive best in the morning sun. They were a gift from a traveler and are not native to these lands. They need extra care. Best wishes, E. Following the advice in the letters, Clara began to notice incredible transformations. Once overrun and wild, the garden started blossoming in ways she had never imagined. Flowers that hadn't bloomed in decades suddenly sprung to life, filling the air with their intoxicating fragrances. Clara's bond with Edmund grew stronger as the weeks turned into months. Through his letters, she learned about his life, his love for the garden, and the joy it brought him. He wrote about rare plant species he had collected from his travels and the stories behind each one. One day, after restoring a particularly tricky part of the garden, Clara found a different kind of letter. Dear Clara, I cannot express how grateful I am for all you've done. Tonight, at midnight, if you wish, come to the garden, and I will reveal my final secret. Warmly, E. Driven by a mix of excitement and apprehension, Clara decided to visit the garden at midnight. As the clock struck 12, she noticed a faint glow emanating from the heart of the garden. There, she saw a translucent figure, holding a spade, surrounded by shimmering plants. It was Edmund, the ghostly gardener. He smiled at Clara, gratitude evident in his ethereal eyes. He beckoned her to follow him to a secluded part of the garden, where he revealed a hidden pond with water lilies glowing under the moonlight. This, Edmund whispered, is the heart of the garden. These lilies can show one's true heart's desire. Clara gazed into the water, and images started forming. She saw herself not in the bustling city where she lived, but in this garden, teaching people the magic of plants, their histories, and their care. Understanding dawned on her. This garden was where she was meant to be. With Edmund's guidance and the power of the lilies, she decided to transform the mansion into a botanical school, preserving the legacy of the ghostly gardener and his treasured plants. As years passed, students came to learn in the magical environment. And while they all marveled at the garden's beauty, they always felt an unseen presence guiding them, protecting them, and sharing their joys. It was the spirit of Edmund, forever entwined with the plants he loved so dearly.